Hi, it's me Tox, and as many of you already know, a few days ago a manga for the winner of the latest character popularity poll was released. Although anyone that has read it knows it's more like a Kushina one-shot. Now, let me start off by saying it's debatable if this manga can even be considered fully canon, as it contradicts several things from the Naruto manga. Right at the first page, we got the Jinchuriki of 4 tails and 5 tails fighting in Biju mode as if they were perfect Jinchurikis. Although we were basically told by Danzo in the Naruto manga that only Yagura and Killer Bee have achieved that state. But that's not even the end of it. I mean, Roshi is not even supposed to be here. In his databook character page, we learned that he actually left the village as a kid. So him fighting on the side of his own village here is kinda bullshit. But anyways, these contradictions aside, let's just go into the feats because those feats actually kinda caused a storm in the scaling community, as many people either like wank Minato to obscene heights saying he's stronger than Hashirama now, his Rasengan is stronger than Bijudama and stuff like that. Now let me say that at first, when I just read the leaks, I also thought these feats are kinda crazy, but after reading the whole manga and, seeing the context these feats happen in, I don't really think it helps him that much, and I don't scale him any higher than I did before. So let me go over them real quick and explain my thought process here. So some of his first feats in the one shot were taking a hit from V1 Kushina and then moments later from a V2 Kushina. I saw people extrapolate from this that his durability and resilience are both much better than we previously thought. But that's not really the case. I mean, we saw Hokage Minato take an actual physical hit from Kurama himself and then continue on fighting like basically nothing happened. I mean, despite that injury, he goes on to maintain Death Reaper Seal, then he uses Summoning Jutsu, and then he finishes off with 8 Trigram Seal. So I don't really see how this upgrades his stats in any significant way. I mean, at best we can say that teen Minato was a beast as well, but for adult Minato this doesn't really do anything. On the other hand, I also saw some people use these scenes as anti-feats for his reactions, but since it's kinda obvious he's off guard here, since he wasn't expecting Kushina to attack him, I don't think that argument holds up. So overall, pretty good feat for Kushina, but really nothing that Minato gains or loses here. The objectively coolest scene from the one shot, which basically became iconic the moment it got leaked, is Minato using his new jutsu which he just developed, Rasengan, to clash with Kurama's tailed beast ball. Now, I saw a lot of people, even people with pretty big YouTube channels, come to ridiculous conclusions just from this scene alone. And to be honest, at first I was kinda confused about how to make sense out of it, but I think I finally arrived at an interpretation that explains it pretty well. So the first part of my premise is that the tailed beast ball wasn't actually fully charged yet. We know from what Gyuki said that the first step to make tailed beast ball is to basically charge positive and negative chakra, which looks kind of something like this. We saw that many times before, and we also see that here in the one shot. What this means is that the Rasengan clashed with tailed beast ball, which wasn't even ready yet, which means it wasn't at full power. We also have a confirmation from Kushina after the fight that Kurama actually never fires the tailed beast ball, which means that Kurama never finishes making the tailed beast ball. So the clash happens and then something which we don't see because it's off panel goes down. Now this kinda leads me into my second point. So now that we established that Minato was clashing with incomplete tailed beast ball, let's look at how impressive that actually is. In the Naruto manga, we had Killer Bee using his own tailed beast ball to push Jubi's tailed beast ball, which by the way also was in the middle of being charged, and Killer Bee basically pushes it back into Jubi's mouth. Now I think we all know just how big the difference between both of those attacks are, yet the strategy still worked. So these 2 points lead me to believe that Minato most likely just caused the tailed beast ball to preemptively explode, perhaps just by pushing it into Kurama. Now, I'm not saying this is the only possible explanation of this scene, but I frankly haven't seen a better one yet. I mean, some people are using this to suddenly scale Minato's AP like ridiculously high, which I don't really think is warranted, as it's really very similar to the Killer Bee scene I just showed. With that said, in my eyes, the best Minato Rasengan feat is still him damaging Obito, because I think this one-shot feat, despite being cool and all, is not really quantifiable. I mean, it's just impossible to tell how close in power was Rasengan to tailed Beast Ball here, because there are just so many factors that played into it. So in this third part of this video, I want to go over not a feat, but a statement. That statement came from Kurama, in which he basically compares Minato to Hashirama. Now, if people were misinterpreting the feats I've just covered, this statement was blown out of proportion like completely. I mean, it's kind of funny people didn't have that same energy when it came to Minato calling Kushina stronger than him. But anyways, let me first go over the context that this statement took place in. So Minato, with the intention of helping Kushina, manipulates a seal that he is unfamiliar with, since he is not an Uzumaki. This obviously surprises Kurama, which leads him to believe that, well, Minato might be comparable to Hashirama. I mean, this kind of makes sense, since Hashirama and Minato are pretty much the only people we know of that basically deal with Kurama, and you know, both Hashirama and Minato aren't Uzumakis or Uchihas, which were basically the only people besides those two who ever could subdue Kurama. So with that said, does this statement really elevate Minato to Hashirama level? Not really. I mean, all this tells us is that his Fuinjutsu is on Hashirama's level. But I mean, we kinda knew that since we have him basically soloing Kurama with Fuinjutsu alone. And although it kinda takes him a lot more effort than it takes Hashirama, I mean, he had to die for it. Meanwhile, Hashirama just one-taps Kurama's forehead, you know? So yeah, there's a big difference still, but I mean, we can at least conclude that they are on a similar level when it comes to Fuinjutsu. So with that said, does the one-shot change anything about how you should scale Minato? Not really. He still remains where he was before, which means he's the third strongest Hokage, just behind Naruto and Hashirama. His most impressive feats still are the feats he already had, such as countering Kurama's tailed Beast Ball, blitzing Obito's Kamui, sealing Kurama, or perhaps even reacting to Sekizo if you take that feat seriously. Anyways, that's all I had. Thanks guys for watching, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on my review. See ya!